You are listening to River West Radio on WXRWLP 104.1 FM Milwaukee. Support for this program comes from Collectivo Coffee. Locally owned since 1993, Collectivo roasts coffees by hand daily in River West. Also offering letterbox fine tea and made-from-scratch food and bakery. Cafe menus, hours, and upcoming events are available at collectivocoffee.com. All right, it's Cinema Fireside. Thanks for listening. If you're listening live, it is a beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous evening in Milwaukee. Sun is out. That means the people are out. The temperature is moderate. Maybe it's in the 70s. We'll see. We certainly hope that Gabe calls in. He's very learned. He really knows how to rock the house. If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It's math. It's 2 and 2 is 4, and it is the way the cookie crumbles. I want to really thank the listeners for listening because that's big stuff. And I hope you guys are all doing well out there in the radio land. Excellent. And Gabe, thank you for calling in. We have Gabe at the helm, which is a really, really good thing. He's a great man. And let's see here. If I can kick this up. Gabe, I hope you're doing good. I hope you can hear me, my man. And we'll be getting to you soon, definitely. Yeah, life's a trip, that's for sure. It just keeps rolling on, and you got to make the most of it. I'm deep into the screenplay of A Streetcar Named Desire. I have yet... Oh, my gosh, it's Martin. It's all good, he says. He helps run the station. He checks the board when we're on the air. He makes sure that everything's technically copacetic. Aesthetically, that's in our hands. Thank you, Martin. Martin's a great radio fan. We discussed radio dramas. He has a love for the genre. Big Smile confirms that as he wanders throughout the area. Yeah, radio dramas, they're great. Actually, this Sunday morning, I had the opportunity to listen to a couple of them on the radio. They were science fiction. They were X-1, which previously was Dimension X. And one was about a tunnel underneath the world, but it was a story that kept having twists and revelations, and it actually ended up with the city just being a miniature on a tabletop. So I think it's called The Tunnel Under the World. Hey, Sandy. Sandy's a great person, great musician, all-around good person. It's good to see you, definitely. And she waves an affirmation back. Definitely, we got a lot of good people around here. So yeah, Dimension X, X-1. Summer is for science fiction. Summer is for Ray Bradbury. Actually, I am acquainted with a colleague to relative degrees who digs Ray Bradbury, and I'm going to have to actually question this individual as to what exactly is their connection to Mr. Bradbury's work, and that'll be neat to certainly find out. So, and then on Sunday nights, I listen to a different radio station than the one in the morning, fall asleep to those radio dramas. I know one was The Black Museum with Orson Welles, and another episode was a take on kind of along the lines of Sorry, Wrong Number, where a lady was trying to get through to a particular person through a network of operators and so forth, you know, as her husband, wrongfully accused, is facing the death penalty, and actually she's only got like 20 minutes to get a hold of the judge who can rescind the execution for at least 24 hours. So that's what I was listening to on Sunday night when I fell asleep, and that meant I missed a couple killer radio dramas after that, but that's, again, the way the cookie crumbles. So I have yet to read the play, A Streetcar Named Desire, but I am reading the screenplay at one of our fine libraries, the Whitefish Bay Library. They got this great book. It's called Film Scripts 1, where it's kind of basically copies of the actual pages of, I think it's Henry V, The Big Sleep, and A Streetcar Named Desire. So when I go home tonight, I will dig back into A Streetcar Named Desire. This morning, I was reading in Mindful magazine. Then I dipped into a book of Ray Bradbury essays, and then I moved on to the Greg Allman memoir, which is great because I've always dug the Allman Brothers. And in reading his memoir. A lot of it takes place in summer as burgeoning rock stars, and all that goes with that. So that's all good stuff. A great summer read. I want to get back to Annie Jacobson's Area 51. There's a number in there. I got one on the Deep Blues. It's not the book by Robert Palmer, which actually I just got for the second time because it was in the free books lobby at one of the libraries. I snatched that up quick. And then on Hubert Sumlin, they had a book on him. I couldn't believe that. I was just sitting there, take it. It's free. I said, thank you. Great big book on the history of narrative film. Grab that. So lots of good stuff at the free books lobby in the library. And Gabe, we know that you're there, and we thank you for your patience. You're a young man. You've got decades ahead of you, so I think you could stick out 6 more minutes. I know you can. You're strong. You've been there. You'll be there again, and you'll always be back, so just hang tight, my man. Recently, I got to see a couple contemporary films. I haven't seen films for really a couple months, just really scattershot. So recently, I saw Woody Allen's recent offering, Cafe Society, which was completely on the money. Jesse Eisenberg essentially plays Woody Allen. I think it takes place maybe in, I wasn't paying attention, late 30s. Eisenberg has a Uncle Phil, who's a movie mogul out in Los Angeles, and he has a brother Ben, who's in the mob, or has mob connections, runs a nightclub. Jesse Eisenberg and his uncle fall in love with the same woman. That, of course, causes consternation, which certainly would be an understatement. I can, without blowing it for you, I can say that it all works out in the end, and everyone does well. So, except for the guy running the nightclub, the DA catches up with him on that one. So, but yeah, great film, Cafe Society. And another one, hey, Sarah Lou, drink water, man. Don't get heat exhaustion. I had a colleague let me know, because you just got to be drinking water out there because it's humid. It's hot and humid, all of that kind of stuff. So then Hell or High Water, great film. Actually, there was another Western, I won't mention it, a contemporary one. I thought that was the one with clever repartee, so I rented that, and I says, man, this ain't got none of that. What is this film? And it's a remake, so maybe I just gave it away to those in the know. But what wasn't what I was looking for, man. Hell or High Water was. Jeff Bridges, great stuff, great tough sheriff talk. And that's a genre unto itself, especially for summer. The sheriff. I mean, you could find him in Smokey in the Bandit. What is his name? Buford T. Justice. You can find him in Walking Toll. You can find him in Hell or High Water. You can find him in Nocturnal Animals. You can find him in Crazy Larry, Dirty Mary, the iconic sheriff. You can find him in Deliverance. The author, James Dickey, who wrote Deliverance, plays the sheriff in the end. And it's haunting because, he has that non-actorly realism to it. And that's so meta, man, when he comes in there and does that. And Deliverance is definitely one of the greatest films ever. And it's always been a film with me. Just incredible. I've read the novel. I've read the screenplay, James Dickey's screenplay. I found it, I think, at a rummage sale. I couldn't believe it, man. It's a highly detailed interpretation of the novel by Mr. Dickey himself. And that was such a great find to come across that screenplay of Deliverance. Again, like I said, I think at a rummage sale, it was like, man, this is good stuff. So there you have it on that end of it. And so, yeah, it's the summer of noir. You can read your Raymond Chandler, your Dashiell Hammett, your Mickey Spillane, your Ross McDonald, you can go on and on and on and on. And I want to get past those 4 guys and get into more extensive territory. I actually got some pulp novels, a lot of them from the time, which I could actually dig into. So that'd be good stuff. But yeah, time is short. There's so much to do. It's just incredible. Just did a lot of writing and transcribing this weekend, and just got done with a new play. Fired it off to a short film festival, a short play festival out in Los Angeles. We'll see what happens to that. A colleague did as well. They did good work, and I wish them a great amount of fortune with that. But as I was telling them, even if nothing comes about it, that the person's idea was great, it can be expanded, it can live on in a greater, even more deeper textured life. So, just keep at it, man. And yeah, summer's crazy, man. People got all of these crazy ideas. I live a life of interiority. I don't care about petty external events. Means zero to me. I want to thank Kevin. He had some burgers and hot dogs on the grill, and I just come off all of this work for hire and my own transcribing, and I was hungry, and I had to stop home before the station. And Kevin said, "Hey, man, I'm cooking out." So I want to thank him sincerely for that. And when I get home tonight, be all tired, but try to get in a little bit of Streetcar Named Desire, getting to the close of the end of that. I'm reading Larry McMurtry's Hollywood. It's brief skirmishes of his experiences in Hollywood. It's a great night read. I'm reading, anyway, we have Gabe on the line. We're going to get Gabe. We're going to put you, let's see if this sucker works, okay? Are you there, my man?
Of course.
Okay, welcome to your life. Can you hear me?
Of course.
Okay, great. Good stuff,
Yes,
my
sir.
man. How are you doing?
Yes. Oh, just fantastic. The sun's shining. It's summer. There's lots of, life's great. I've got no complaints. Absolutely no complaints, even though I do. Nothing of any great concern whatsoever. Life's good today.
Well, that's good, Gabe. Well, welcome to your life. Welcome to the show.
Yep. It's been a saturated 2 weeks of writing, of reading, of film watching, of just getting stuff done down here in Kansas City. It's been adventurous. It's been full of people, places, deadlines, dates, responsibilities, and of course the 9 to 5 in between. But it's been a great couple of weeks of getting everything and anything done that needs to get done in my house, other people's houses. We had a fundraiser for the men's group that I organized with my brother-in-law, and we made some money from that, which was good. The food that we made was good. It sold well. People enjoyed themselves. My mom is doing a series of films at the church where she's a minister that's going really well, where she does 5 films every year, which she calls Movies to Live By, where she discusses the metaphysical interpretation of the meaning within these films. So she picks things that are a little on the sentimental side, but she picks films that have real consequence, films that dare people to live, that have characters, that make choices and decisions, that really have potency, have power, have impact, have destiny behind them, and that they make characters where their decisions have weight, where they reach a crossroads, they have to make a final decision, and sometimes life just hands them some bad cards, and they just still choose to just say, well, whatever. So she and I, for the last few years, we've talked at sometimes at great length, sometimes at no length about the films that she should pick for this series, and I usually offer up a handful of suggestions, 2 of which are probably never going to make it on that list. I still dutifully stand by my suggestion for Schindler's List, which she has not even finished. She saw I showed her the first half of it about 15 years ago, and she didn't make it through the second half because it was just a little too wrenching of an experience on a subjective side. But I think now that she can stomach violence a little more than she could 2 decades ago. So I think we're going to try and shoot for that for next year. But she picked some good films. She picked, considering that she could have picked some real obvious, sentimental, bad films that a lot of people went to go see in the last few years, like The Shack, which is just a bad book and is an even worse film, but it plays on these sort of one-dimensional Christian metaphysics, and that's fine. But I really am really glad that she chose to not go such a Hallmark cookie-cutter card route of a film. She chose Hidden Figures. She chose Lion. She chose The White Helmets at my suggestion. She watched it. She hadn't seen it. She did choose the Oscar-winning short documentary, which is a fantastic film, great piece of filmmaking, great piece of editing, and a great story as well. It is documentary filmmaking at its best, which Netflix really has come into its own on a worldwide film scale and as its own medium of presenting these great films, these great documentaries. And Netflix becoming its own source of great films and filmmaking as well. Still just baffled at that recent development in the last few years. But The White Helmets is another, as Virunga, the film that was nominated for Best Documentary 2 years ago about the gorilla, which was also a fantastic piece of filmmaking, great film, and was criminally underseen, partially because it was acquired by Netflix instead of distributed in theaters, which is neither here nor there. But the film was sort of under-publicized by Netflix, and it just looked like another item on its large scrolling marquee, and I think it just didn't get seen by enough people, which really was a shame. It was a great film.
Hey, speaking of gorillas, dude, I'm reading a book of interviews of screenwriters, and it's the lady who wrote Gorillas in the Mist. And, Gabe, I got that at the, I think in the discount area at Samuel French in West Los Angeles, and you take back your dream from another realm, back to your city, and that continues throughout the years to haunt your consciousness.
Do you remember what the name of that book was?
It's like interviews with new screenwriters, something like that. It's
my first film. Is it?
Oh no, dude! It's strictly a book of collection of interviews with screenwriters, and there's at least a couple of them out, my man.
Okay, was it about their first screenplays though?
I don't think it's specifically about their first, because each one kind of in their repertoire has several screenplays, so they discuss their career in totality. So, Zav, have a great night, man. Zav LaPlay has left the house.
Books about interviews with screenwriters are something that was gifted to me a lot when I was younger, when I was in high school and when I was in college. And I never read the books until later because they just became something I expected every Christmas, birthday, or whatever, distant relatives, stuff like that. And I picked a number of them up, and no matter how bad they were or how in relation to another, they were always good. They were always full of information and context and detail and information and some sort of importance in some way. There's one that I think it's called Screenwriters on Screenwriting, which is about screenwriters that have, I believe, won Best Original or Best Adapted Screenplay for the Academy Award, and also screenwriters that won the Writers Guild of America Award for Best Original Screenplay. I have a book on each of those, and those are both fantastic books about the process and the multitudes of processes. Gus Van Sant, going into his process, was a life-changing moment. Going throughout the book, and everyone just sort of goes through their by-the-book numbers of how they do stick to the 3-act structure, or they don't, or they just write, and then they just throw a bunch of stuff together and they give it to their editor, or they meticulously edit themselves, or they just they focus on dialogue, and everything else just sort of comes. Everything else figures itself out, or they put all the scenes, they have to visualize everything, and then the dialogue comes afterwards. And all these different methods that and then having hold on one second.
Yeah, hey, dude, if you're dying, come back to life. We need you, Gabe. Right. Gabe, somebody help that man out there. Are you all right?
All right. I'm fine. That's good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank God.
But yeah, very good stuff. Anyone who's ever been interested in I still run into people all the time that talk about, I want to write a film, or I want to write this, or I want to write that, and they say, well, what's the proper method, or and I just say, just start writing.
Right.
A lot of people who have literally won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, a lot of them were first-time writers. They had never written a play before. They had never written a teleplay. They didn't come from television. They didn't have this vast experience of screenplays under their belt. They had a story. They had an idea. They fleshed it out. They wrote it. They got it done. It took them a while to shop it. They got an agent. And then, it got sold. It got made into a movie. Now, that doesn't happen to a lot of people. There are so many pratfalls along that path. But those are a few of the ends that it can. In fact, the King's Speech, case in point, right there. First screenplay. The guy was in his late 60s. Got up on stage and said, "I always told my mom I was a late bloomer." I think about that a lot, about this guy and that sort of determined, serious look that he had on his face when he was on stage. Like he completely expected this, but he was still completely in shock. And he was keeping himself calm, but he was also very proud. And there was this combination of elation and total deadpan seriousness.
First of all, your description of it is magnificent. And I want to say to our listeners, you can go, as you listen to, on Twitter @MoreToScarier, and I'll put up a photo of us seeing out the window as Gabe speaks right now. Good job, Gabe. Keep going.
Thank you, Mark. There have been several films that I saw in the last couple of weeks. Some better than others. Mark, you talked about Patterson last week on the show.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. 2 weeks ago on the show.
You got a great memory.
And I was in the process of watching it when you had mentioned it, and I didn't bring it up on the show because I wasn't finished with it yet. So I finished it, and it's Jarmusch's worst films are better than a lot of people's best films. Patterson is nowhere near his worst film. It's nowhere near his best film. It's a very interesting film. It came out last year. Anyone listening who has no idea what I'm talking about, Patterson is the name of the film. It's the name of the town that it takes place in, which is a real town in a real small city in New Jersey. And it's also the name of the title character, who's a poet and a utilitarian bus driver. I could relate. I've known a lot of people in my life, and there's always this idea of the utilitarian working day job writer. And there were these small moments that you see these moments in your own life when you open notebooks and you spend a lot of your time creatively, but you don't necessarily share a lot of it with the world. I guess the difference with some people is that some people do try to publish. They endlessly spend their life trying to publish, sometimes to great success, sometimes to middle success, sometimes to no success. And other people that don't want to publish but should publish, or don't want to publish and could publish, they're indifferent to it, they're afraid of it, they don't want to take the chance, they for whatever reason. And some people just feel that there's too many words already in the universe and don't care. They don't write to get published. They write because it's their thing that they love to do. I've definitely met my share of people that should be published writers, that should be published authors, and just have zero interest in wanting to deal with all that, deal with any of that.
And let me ask you this, Gabe, would you be willing to deal with the space where you originally were at? Because your phone is breaking up.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Right, but it could be rectified, I think, if you just make some switches in location. Tom, what's your favorite color?
Literally.
Okay, here you go. Thanks. I just gave Tom the latest play because he was kind enough. He got me a sandwich at Altera on Sunday night during a long day, and that really came through in a pinch. Thank you, Tom. And Gabe, how's your reception now?
I haven't moved the entire show.
Well, you may not have moved, but the Earth moved, and it puts you in an unlikely spot for good reception. But I think I think we're going to get through this.
Okay.
Oh, you sound better already. What'd you do?
Oh, that's good. I moved my head.
Okay. Good work.
Okay. So Patterson is definitely one of these interesting Jarmuschian existential comedies. It's definitely lighter in tone than a lot of his films, but it's equally comical, observant, witty, smart, heartfelt, humane, and
Son, that's a lot of adjectives.
Identical twins.
Oh,
and it's just lots of identical twins. Man, what a beautiful film.
Yeah, it's a smaller film in concept and in composition. He was always one to use kind of like utilize spatiality to a great effect, whereas he was never one for a lot of cutting to create momentum, but rather let these scenarios play out with the camera, to keep rolling. And I will say that was for budgetary reasons, because he didn't have a lot of film at first to shoot with, but it played out in a very appealing aesthetic sensibility as well. So he always had that more of a for time-wise too, that temporally a more kind of like a more sensual, drawn-out palette, which I've always appreciated about Jarmusch's work.
He's really good with interiors and with confinement, open spaces and closed spaces.
Closed spaces down by law, my man.
Yeah, he's definitely, he understands the use of walls very well. He understands the use of lighting, of interior nighttime lighting. And he understands decorations of people's choices and how they decorate their bedrooms, how they decorate their walls, how they decorate, what kind of floors do they choose for their homes, what kind of carpet, what kind of cars do they drive, what kind of clothes do they wear, why do they wear certain rings, why do they wear their hair certain ways, why do they have certain photos on their walls.
Why ask why?
Well,
it's a commercial, my man, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know. That just popped. Yeah, it just.
Yeah.
Oh, who
knows? He's a good filmmaker. He's a very good writer and a very good filmmaker. I love classic Jarmusch and I love contemporary Jarmusch. Thinking about his work at length recently, Mystery Train and Stranger Than Paradise and all, Down by Law, all of his great films. I definitely have to say that Ghost Dog and Stranger Than Paradise are my two favorites for different reasons. But there's this continuity in his films where it's like one film kind of picks up where the other one left off. Even though these movies are completely different at times, completely different characters, completely different styles. There's this flow. There's this sensibility that goes through all of them. There's something that picks up. That keeps moving. It's almost like a basketball that's just like being handed from one person to another, and this person just kind of walking down the street, dribbling a basketball, and just throwing the ball into a field. And then maybe a couple of years later, someone picks up the basketball and just pumps some air into it and goes for a walk with the basketball and dribbles for a while. Really, really, really good stuff. I saw the Beguiled and Baby Driver in the theater.
Ooh, congratulations, Gabe! You did your homework.
Yeah, those are contemporary films. They're very well reviewed. I wanted to see both of them for my own reasons. The Beguiled is a masterwork, visually and narratively. It's one of Sophia.
Someone will be happy to hear that. I'm sorry for interrupting, but someone was very much looking forward to it, and I think they're going to be very pleased at your assessment of it. Sofia
Coppola is one of my favorite filmmakers. She makes enjoyable, I'd say like heavy, lighthearted films that are full of subterranean context. They're films that are quietly dispelling. They're full of the mythos of encaged women, and they're full of women that are encaged by societal promise and societal governing rules, like these sort of unspoken rules that they impose upon themselves. That men in their lives impose upon them, other women impose upon them. But she definitely is a predominantly a feminist filmmaker who makes these sort of bemusedly, very comically enlightened films about sort of the bittersweet melancholy of life. These sweet little dark stories, happy little ugly fairy tales at times. But man, her movies are so enjoyably picturesque at times, and The Beguiled is no exception. Lit by candlelight. This sort of impressionistic, humectant.
You're talking Barry Lyndon.
Southern. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the only film that comes to mind that really does justice to that sort of smoky, hazy, foggy lighting. Haskell, the photography of Haskell Wexler comes to mind. The Beguiled is truly an entertainment feast. There is so much to enjoy. There is so much to take in, and the fact that it's a small film, but it's saturated with near perfection.
You're talking cries and whispers.
Yeah, it's a near perfectly executed, small, dark dramedy, black comedy of there's infinite wit and sarcasm in this film, and it also cements in my mind that Kirsten Dunst is one of my favorite actresses. That she truly is a master of understatement, of conveying depression and disappointment and loss and hurt and shattered hope. Her performance in this film is so treacherously, just emotionally devastating at times. There are two moments in the film where her heartbreak and her disappointment and her longing, her humanity, reach out of the screen. It goes beyond the borders of the four edges of the screen, and it reaches out right out of the screen. And what I found really interesting was that at the end of the film, just by the vocal reactions and the physical body language of the people in the theater, the film completely polarized the audience that had seen it. Some people in the theater thought it was this really funny, lightweight, sort of like black, this sort of silly comedy that was just really dark and weird. And other people were like crying in their seats. I was one of them that was just powerfully moved by sort of uncertain emotions, but emotions nonetheless. About something unspoken, something uncertain, and something unspecific about women as a whole, and especially about these characters, about something larger than the film, something larger than the context of the story. And there's one moment, there's just a look that Kirsten Dunst gives near the end of the film that just is shattering. It's so realistic, it's potent, it's powerful. And there's so much that's said without any words coming out, without any dialogue. It reminds me of the scene at the end of Witness, where Harrison Ford is leaving the farm, and he looks through the screen door at Kelly McGillis. And in the original screenplay of that film, there was this long exchange, but in Peter Weir's final version, final scenes on porches, I will say it, are very effective and very tried and true parts of the American melodrama and the American stage and the American film scene, and there's a reason for that.
When you're saying
American,
let me say this because now you're talking about where the American dream occurs on these front porches. That's where Greg Allman first played Melissa to his brother Dwayne Allman, and Dwayne freaked out. Like, man, that's great. So Melissa, the first time he played it for Dwayne Allman was on the front porch. So thank you, Gabe.
Front porches, American front porches.
Thank you.
I stand by that. American front porches. Baby Driver. It's cute, it's adorable, it's flashy, it's got some great camera work, and that's about it.
Wow.
It's a very, very entertaining. It's very well made. It's very well shot. It's an analog feeling film. It doesn't feel like it's stitched together in an editing room, even though it is endlessly edited. It's not pointlessly edited. It's not unpurposefully edited. It is edited to dizzy you. It is edited to show you something that is worth showing to you, but it follows every single predictable, obvious, and to be honest, pointless situation in a cute, funny bank robber, indie, quirky heist film.
My God, you are the Howard Cosell of cinema.
Like, this movie just does everything that you expect it to do, and you want it to do it. You like that it does it. You even go along with it because it's fun, but ultimately Baby Driver are such empty calories. Its cuteness implodes on its own Haagen-Dazsness. You just put enough chocolate and maraschino cherries on top of a sundae, and pretty soon the ice cream is just buried underneath toppings and condiments and more cherries and nuts. And
this is
sprinkles.
crazy, Gabe. I'm serious, man. Now I'm serious. Now I got to get an ice cream this week. Dude, you have totally sold me.
You know, and if ice cream sundae condiments are more important than the ice cream, then Baby Driver should be your favorite film. Because, man, I know I've seen hundreds of films that fall into the category of toppings over ice cream or condiments over burger. But, man, talk about just drowning the burger in ketchup and mayonnaise and onions and lettuce and tomato, and pretty soon you have this like 19-stack burger, and the burger itself is cooked well done.
I'm beginning to think you got your money's worth.
I was very entertained in a certain way, except that 2/3 of the film is dead weight. The third of the film that is near perfect, these effortless ballets of bank robberies and getaways, are some of the most well shot and edited chase and action scenes ever put on film, ever executed, and worth executing. I'd compare them to Bullet. I would compare them to The French Connection. I would compare them to the analog feeling chase scenes in Jack Reacher, which is one of the best, which the action scenes in that film make that one of the best action films of the last decade. The rest of the film is dead weight. I've said before that I like Tom Cruise, though.
Yeah, have you seen Jack Reacher 2?
But I have not seen Jack Reacher 2.
Yeah, because actually I worked with a dude who's the guy, I think, who arrests Tom Cruise in Jack Reacher 2. He's actually in the trailer. His first name's Judd. I forgot what his last name is, but very, very cool dude. We actually, on the way to the set, there's nothing like stopping in like at Starbucks or something like that, man, to get a coffee in the morning. So that's what we did. And I actually got Friday's New York Times on the way, and that was with the dude from Jack Reacher 2, Judd, who's, like I say, the dude apprehending Cruz in the trailer, man. So that's my connection to that.
That's your dude.
Yeah, coffee, New York Times, dog.
You know, it just, I can't, I'm not, I'm not offering not saying, and I'm using I'm trying to get my way out of using a double negative here, but it's not possible. I am not saying don't go to Baby Driver if you want to see it. If you like the trailers, if you like this sort of
Judd Lorman,
smarmy, cute, smarmy, quirky cuteness, for the sake of cute, smarmy, quirky cuteness, go see it. Go see it. It just is an endless amount of condiments. It advertises itself as basically as a music video, and that's exactly what it is. It has some really interesting ideas in it, though, that are underutilized, and it really gives the feeling that there's a 3.5-hour cut of the film that honestly is probably better, because there's half ideas, there's half fleshed out characters, there's half fleshed out details, and
there's half a film missing.
And as soggy as I think the larger cut would be, I think it would actually have more flavor, and I think it would actually be a larger film with larger ideas and a larger concept, because there are literally plot details and points and references that are made that there is no context to, where clearly there were scenes shot that are references to scenes that are not in the final film. There's this endless amount. It happens like 4 or 5 times where they reference things that very clearly the audience should know about, and they're just not there. There's things that are just cut off, characters that just disappear, things that just seem trimmed, unnecessary. But at the same time, the film is brisk. It flows fast. But everything that isn't about car chases and violence and these action scenes or these chases or these getaways just feels so by the numbers. The characters are all just cut out of these action film, indie, quirky action film cliches. And it's done well, though. Those cliches are true. Cliches come from truth for a reason. They work. They're tried. They're true. They function and they flow. But the handful of ideas that I think that keep the film afloat are not executed with enough heart, humanity, or depth to make them worthwhile. Because ultimately, it's a film that thinks that despite its cuteness and its quirk and its visceral charm, that it actually is a meaningful, thoughtful film about a human being. It ends up becoming a sketch of an image of a person, and it never goes beyond the appearance and the sound of things to something deeper, even though it really could. It almost does. The performances are great. The direction is great. The writing is not great. Kevin Spacey, however, takes subpar material and does everything that he can with it. Kevin Spacey is the best thing about this movie, besides the editing and the action sequences. There's a lot to recommend here. Do not be swayed by my cynicism and my sarcasm and my disliking of the majority of this film.
We're enthralled by it.
So, if you want to see this film, go see it. It is a very, very well-made film. It just didn't click for me. I may change my mind about that.
Well, I argue you still got your money's worth, man. You had me all the way.
I did.
I mean, I was in the dream spell of your wonderful words, my man.
I Am Not Your Negro, which is a film that got nominated for Best...
James Baldwin.
Yes, sir, James Baldwin. It was nominated for Best Documentary in for last year. Man, was last year a great film for documentaries. You had 3 films, boom, boom, boom. Possibly the 3 best films of the year were all documentaries about about the civil rights movement and the struggle of African Americans in the 20th century. I Am Not Your Negro, which was about James Baldwin, which essentially was which was an avant-garde film, an unfinished project made finished, where James Baldwin's prose, his 30-page treatment for an unmade film, as read by Samuel L. Jackson, plays out on the soundtrack, while images and pictures and a typical documentary, I would say a PBS-style documentary unfolds, but with an unusual narration, a completely different context for all those images to come across. And Baldwin's prose is so enlightened, so thought-provoking, so poetic, so powerful, and so enraged in the best possible way for the best possible reason. Anger usually does nothing for me, man, but when it's righteous anger, when it's something I can agree with, which, it's a matter of opinion. This movie just brought me to tears several times. I was blown away by the poetry, by the filmmaking, and by James Baldwin himself. I'm criminally underread in his work. Great film. Great film. And it brought me to another documentary that I watched about another crusader, an angry crusader of righteousness, Larry Kramer, one of the great AIDS activists of our time, of any time, of time, period. The AIDS struggle has not gone on long enough for there to have been all these eons and eons and eons of periods of decades and stuff. It's gone on for the struggle. The Act Now, Act Up has, believe it came into action in 1981, so that is about 36 years. So that's just a handful of decades there. That's on one hand. That's not, those aren't 60, 70, 80, 90 years yet, but we're getting up there, and hopefully, hopefully we, with the expanse of time, that struggle changes. But Larry Kramer was one of the first to really, really, really try and get there, to try and advocate for change and for just for people to raise their voices and to get things to change. And in America, he was a major, major voice, and he wrote some great plays about being gay and having AIDS, having HIV. And he, was a public speaker. He organized lots of events, and he's a prominent figure in a number of documentaries. How to Survive a Plague, which is a great Oscar-nominated film from 2012. Great, almost like an action film. It's so alive. We Are Still Here, which is basically the same film, only not as well made, but equally important about other figures in that movement. And then Larry Kramer in Love and Anger, which is an HBO documentary that focuses mainly on him, which is very, very, very excruciatingly painful to watch. It's heartbreaking, and it's extremely well made. Covers a lot of the same bases as How to Survive a Plague, but focuses on him more. And it's it's a very enlightened coverage of because he was a Hollywood screenwriter. It's very I was unexpectedly entertained from that angle as well. It was very, very fun to watch and just very varied and vast, very enlightening and entertaining. Very, very good stuff. Mark.
Gabe.
So, I finally got to it, Mark. I finally watched the great road film ever made, American Honey.
Oh, dude,
Man.
I've yet to see that, my man. I'm going to write that back down.
Mark, this is the road film that I have always been waiting for. The cinematography is free. It's like the new wave of it's everything that I've always wanted a road film to be. It's like the Dogma. It's the Dogma 95 of road films. It's the French New Wave of road films. It is the road film of road films.
It's the American Wim Wenders.
It out-Wenders Wenders. I don't know how else to say it.
This is exciting, Gabe. I'm all ears here.
Mark, you need to see this movie.
It will be done.
So
I will be done.
It got it was the front runner for getting the Golden Palm last year at Cannes. And it lost to I, Daniel Blake, for some bizarre reason. Well, it's based on opinion, and they get to have those opinions. But are people talking about I, Daniel Blake this year? No, they're not. They're talking about a lot of other films that either got directors' prizes or no prizes at all. A lot of films that a lot of people felt were underappreciated, and American Honey is definitely the one that a lot of people are saying, man, that film basically did get the the Grand Prix, not the Grand Prix, the Palme d'Or, because there is no other film that came out of Cannes last year that is nearly as entertaining or as well made or as memorable.
This is exciting, man.
Man, I just cannot explain my enthusiasm and my excitement for this movie. It's a brisk 2 hours and 43 minutes long, and when it was over, I just was like, that can't be it. That there has to be more. It's just weightless. It feels like the wing, like Aphrodite came down and scorned and blessed and bemused and enchanted my the television screen that I watched this on. I felt like there was a Roman battle going on behind the screen, and that I was privy to something extraterrestrial. And
see, I gotta get the TV you got, man. Tom said 13-inch black and white. No, this is exciting. This is exciting, my man, because you actually put some life into living, man. So that American Honey will most certainly be checked out.
Mark, this movie it's I forgot that it was a road film, and most of the reviews I've read talk about the use of music or the characters or the subject or the camera work. Mark, there are these two sequences in the film where they shoot what appears to be the Houston skyline, or the Texas nightlight skyline. Texas has this open nightline when the sun starts to go down, when it's after the magic hour, when blues turn into purples, turn into indigos, turn into violets, turn into plums, when there are those reds that turn into maroons, that turn into oranges, that turn into the mists of time. The Texas sky,
Gabe, Dude, you are exciting me. I've been to Texas many times, man, and you're exciting me.
Mark, there's scenes where these young adults are in this car, in this van, traveling the country, and you're looking out, not at the famous sights, not at the tourist attractions, endless fields and plains and highways and motor buses and cars and motels and the backlots of America. The real America.
Dude, I've been there. I've been to Austin, El Paso, Houston, Dallas, and I'm telling you, it is
Mark,
like that. We'd be in a small town outside Dallas, and it is the old America. It's everywhere there.
Mark, these are the places that they go in the film. These are the cities. These are the places. The cities you just listed, I think three of them. I think they go to three of those. They go to Kansas City too.
Gabe, were you in it?
No. This film was made years ago. The acting, the lack of acting. Most of the people in the film are non-actors, and they have that lack of pretense. They have that lack of the way, as I refer to it, the way of acting in front of a camera, where these. And I was talking about it with my girlfriend. There's this weird line between non-actors that are bad non-actors and non-actors that have been slightly trained to understand how to forget the camera's there. It's maybe what they teach reality stars to do, where you just have to be around a camera enough, and I think you just sort of have to, like, what I used to do with the actors that I worked with, when I was like in middle school, high school, and in college, was I would work. What I discovered after shooting amateur short films for years was that I had to just get comfortable, especially if it was with someone who was a friend of a friend who needed to fill in a scene. I had these actors, these friends of mine that became, like Mike Johnson, who became an actor, who has screen credits and is a member of the Guild. He got his first experience making films with me, and we made lots of films together. We would make these experimental avant-garde short films together where it was similar to sort of like David Holtzman's Diary-esque, where we usually just did plays where it was like a camera, a tripod, or just me with the camera and a single actor in a single room doing like a one-man play or a one-man show, or we would have two actors doing like a two-person play, and then I would just do camera work, usually improvised camera work, handheld, sometimes with using coverage, like using two cameras, sometimes three cameras, but usually it was just one handheld camera. And the way I like to shoot is it interferes with the actor. It gets extremely close. And in order for them to forget that the camera's there, that's just time and experience. And I've always wondered about people being on screen for the first time, like their first film credit, when they're non-actors. Like, how much time around a camera do they have to get before they stop looking at the camera, before they start acting, or maybe it's not acting? Like what Marlon Brando always talked about in these later seminars about that blurred line between non-actor actors and actor non-actors. He had this weird definition of when you have been trained too much, you're not an actor anymore. You're worthless. You've lost all ability to act at that point. Your performance is worthless. Which is a lot of cute rhetoric, but there's some truth to it. So watching American Honey, I was thinking of Marlon Brando and his rhetoric about the non-actor acting. And I was just, Shia LaBeouf's in it. There's Shia LaBeouf, and there's two other trained professional actors. There's a few others, I'm sure. But there are three that stood out as like, screen credited names that you've seen in other Hollywood films. But everyone else is just like, man, these real people, these real human beings, these real young Americans, man, just life on film, Mark. You must.
Dude, it will be done, my man. That film was in my blood. It I fell into the vortex of many films to see. You brought it back to the fore, and it will be rapidly accomplished.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
As always, Mark. Thank you. Mark, do you have any poetry on hand?
No, dude. I'm sitting in a radio station listening to you, but I do thank you for the sentiment, Gabe. No, I've just been kind of like thankfully I looked up at the clock because, man, I was just, like I said, kind of like spellbound, by this by all this stuff you're casting, and I looked up at the clock and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad I did that, man. So yeah, no, but thank you, Gabe, for asking me. Definitely.
Mark, please bring some in for next week. I would love it.
We'll definitely see it. And I don't want that to be just like a sentiment that is carried away with the wisp of the wind. Some like fading smoke. But yeah, we should do something that's certainly appropriate.
Well, Mark, it used to be a common part of the show back in the day, and I was thinking about it this last week. I was like, man, some of those winter poems that you read years ago. It was sort of a thing that we would do about once every 3 shows or so.
Yeah.
Back in the early days of you coming on the show, I think it was in like early 2013.
So you got a memory, man.
There were these in spring. You wrote these poems about the end of winter and the beginning of spring, and then we brought that back a little bit later in 2013 too, in late fall when it started to get cold again. By you guys, I was living in Florida at the time. And, man, I was just thinking about some of those old shows today that are, lost to the echoes of time. But you know what? That's a good thing because things die, things wither, things fade, and time changes, and people change, and life is change. So I'm looking forward to a new era of our show, a new era of life. And, holding on to, stuff just because it's stuff, just because it was there, because it happened. I just don't do that. I don't keep old photographs. I don't keep a lot of old stuff. So I sort of look at. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, Mark. That's actually healthy. It's healthy to remember. So I just don't. I remember in my head. I just don't physically keep a lot of remembrances. But I tell you, Mark, I remember a lot of things about our show, and I have a lot of really good memories. So that's definitely one of them.
Well, this will be a memory too, dude, because we got to close this hour out.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone. Yep, and Mark, I'm going to run, so I'm going to let you close out. I'll talk to you guys all soon.
Gabe, God bless you, man. Thanks for everything. Thanks for your sentiment, man.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. We'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.
Gabe's a great soul, man. He really brings it on, man. His learned... Oh, we got to cut that. His learned nature just rocks the house. Well, guys, listeners, I hope you're really doing good. Just take control of your life, live your dreams, man. It's an incredible, incredible odyssey that we're on. It's just undeniably good stuff. And if you live well, I think good things will happen. Is that you, dude? Is that your man out there in that Prius doing dangerous things in the middle of Center Street? Oh, my. Okay. That said, we will be on the air the same time next week on WXR WLP 104.1 FM Milwaukee. To hear past episodes, visit riverwestradio.com/shows and click Cinema Fireside.